What if I told you that one of the most romantic voices in music history, the voice millions of people heard at weddings, in Disney movies, on late-night radio, and during the most emotional moments of their lives, once watched everything he had worked for get taken away? The Grammys, the grand piano, the memories, the symbols of success. And yet, even after that, Peabo Bryson never became bitter. He kept singing. Because Peabo Bryson was never just a singer, he was the man who made love sound expensive, heartbreak sound gentle, and hope sound like it could still walk into the room. Most people know him for two magical Disney duets, Beauty and the Beast with Céline Dion, and A Whole New World with Regina Belle. But that is only the shiny part of the story. Behind that velvet voice was a boy from Greenville, South Carolina, who started singing before the world knew his name. A young man who left home early. A performer who had to fight for every room, every record deal, every radio play, every comeback. And when Peabo Bryson passed away at 75 after suffering a stroke, it did not just feel like losing another celebrity. It felt like the closing of a chapter. Because for over 5 decades, Peabo Bryson was the soundtrack to people falling in love, staying in love, losing love, and believing in love again. But here is the part most people never talk about. The same voice that made the world believe in fairy tales lived a real life full of pressure, setbacks, financial storms, health battles, and quiet dignity. So today, we are not just remembering Peabo Bryson. We are going inside the story of how a boy named Robert Peabo Bryson became the voice of love. How he became Disney's golden voice. How he won Grammys. How he survived humiliation. How he kept performing when life tried to silence him. And why his voice will never truly disappear. Before we go deeper, take a second and think about this. There are singers who make hits. There are singers who dominate charts. There are singers who go viral for a season. But then there are singers whose voices become attached to memories. You do not just hear them. You remember where you were. You remember who you loved. You remember the person sitting next to you. That was Peabo Bryson. His voice did not need to shout. It did not need scandal. It did not need chaos. It did not need to chase trends. It simply entered the room and made everything feel warmer. And in today's music world, where everything moves fast, where songs are here today and forgotten tomorrow, Peabo Bryson represents something rare. A time when a singer had to stand in front of a microphone and tell the truth with nothing but breath, tone, control, and emotion. No tricks, no noise, just soul. But his journey was not as smooth as his voice. To understand Peabo Bryson, you have to go back to Greenville, South Carolina, where his story began. Peabo Bryson was born Robert Peabo Bryson on April 13, 1951, in Greenville, South Carolina. And even his name had a story. Peabo was his real middle name, but when people had trouble pronouncing it, it eventually became Peabo. That small change became one of the most recognizable names in R&B. But before the fame, before the Grammys, before Disney, before the big duets, he was just a young boy surrounded by music. His mother played a major role in shaping his love for singing. She took him to concerts. She exposed him to the great black performers of the time. She helped him understand that music was not just entertainment. Music was expression. Music was identity. Music was survival. And Peabo absorbed it all. By the time many teenagers are still trying to figure out who they are, Peabo was already performing. At just 14 years old, he began singing backup with a local Greenville group. That alone tells you something about him. He was not waiting for life to give him permission. He was already stepping into rooms older than him, standing near musicians more experienced than him, learning how to survive on stage. And then, while still young, he went on the road. He toured with Moses Dillard and the Textown Display, a move that placed him directly inside the world of live performance. Now, imagine that. A young Peabo Bryson, not yet famous, not yet rich, not yet protected by a major machine, traveling city to city, learning how audiences breathe, how bands move, how singers either survive or disappear. That period shaped him. Because Peabo did not become great by accident. He learned timing. He learned phrasing. He learned how to hold a note without over-singing it. He learned how to make emotion feel controlled, not messy. That became his superpower. A lot of singers can make you hear pain. Peabo made you feel pain while still giving you comfort. And that is very hard to do. Peabo's first real break came in Atlanta. Bang Records noticed something in him. At first, the focus was not even fully on him as a lead singer. But people around him could hear that there was something different in his voice. He was not just another backup singer. He had tone. He had class. He had a natural emotional weight. And more importantly, he had musical intelligence. He was not only a vocalist. He could write. He could arrange. He could produce. He understood songs from the inside. That matters, because Peabo Bryson's career was not built on image alone. It was built on musicianship. In 1976, he released his debut album. Peabo then came a major turning point when he signed with Capitol Records. This is where his journey started to widen. His late 1970s albums like Reaching for the Sky and Crosswinds helped establish him as a serious R&B artist. Songs like Feel the Fire and I'm So Into You showed what made him special. He was romantic without sounding weak. Powerful without sounding aggressive, smooth without sounding empty. That balance became his signature, and that is why people started calling him the voice of love. Not because he only sang love songs, but because he made love feel grown. He made it feel patient. He made it feel elegant. He made it feel like something you had to earn. Now here is where Peabo Bryson's story becomes legendary. Some artists are great alone. Some artists are great in groups. But Peabo had a rare gift. He knew how to sing with someone. That sounds simple, but it is not. A duet is not a competition, it is a conversation, and Peabo understood that better than almost anyone. When he sang with a female vocalist, he did not try to overpower her. He did not try to steal the moment. He created space. He listened while singing. That is why his duets felt intimate. With Roberta Flack, he created music that sounded like two people speaking privately while the world listened. Their 1983 duet album Born to Love gave listeners one of the most memorable romantic recordings of that era, Tonight I Celebrate My Love. That song became bigger than a track. It became a moment. It became wedding music, anniversary music, slow dance music, radio at night music, the kind of song people played when they wanted the room to feel softer. And Peabo did that again and again. He worked with Natalie Cole. He worked with Minnie Riperton. He worked with Regina Belle. He worked with Céline Dion. He worked with Kenny G. He could adapt to different voices and still remain himself. That is not easy. Many artists lose their identity in collaborations. Peabo did not. He could stand beside another legend and still sound unmistakably like Peabo Bryson. And that is why his career had such a long life. He was not built around one trend. He was built around a feeling. Then came Disney. And this is where Peabo Bryson became part of global childhood memory. In 1991, Disney released Beauty and the Beast. The animated film was already magical. But the pop duet version of the title song, performed by Peabo Bryson and Céline Dion, gave it a different kind of life. Think about the risk of that moment. Céline Dion was rising. Disney was entering a golden era. The song needed voices that could carry romance, innocence, elegance, and cinematic emotion. Peabo Bryson was perfect. He brought warmth. Céline brought power and clarity. Together, they made the song feel timeless. And it worked. The recording became a major success and won a Grammy for Best Pop Performance by a duo or group with vocals. But more than that, it placed Peabo's voice into homes across the world. Children heard it. Parents heard it. Couples heard it. People who had never followed R&B radio suddenly knew the sound of Peabo Bryson. And that is the power of Disney. It does not just create hits, it creates memory. But Peabo's Disney story was not finished, because 1 year later, he would sing another song that would become even more iconic. In 1992, Disney released Aladdin. And with it came A Whole New World, performed in the pop version by Peabo Bryson and Regina Belle. This was not just another duet. This was lightning. The song became a massive hit and reached #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. It also won major awards and became one of Disney's most recognizable songs. And again, Peabo did what only Peabo could do. He made fantasy sound sincere. That is hard to explain, but you know it when you hear it. Some singers would make a Disney song sound too theatrical. Some would make it too polished. Some would make it too dramatic. Peabo made it human. He made it sound like two people stepping into possibility, and Regina Belle matched him beautifully. Their voices did not fight, they lifted each other. And that is why the song still works. Even decades later, people hear it and feel something. Maybe nostalgia, maybe childhood, maybe romance, maybe loss, maybe all of it at once. And that is the hidden genius of Peabo Bryson. His songs did not belong to just one moment. They followed people through life. You could hear him as a child and feel wonder. You could hear him as an adult and feel longing. You could hear him after losing someone and feel comfort. That is rare. But fame does not protect people from life. And this is where Peabo's story becomes more human. Because while the world saw the Grammys, the duets, the performances, the velvet suits, the elegant voice, behind the scenes, Peabo faced real struggles. In 2003, he suffered one of the most public humiliations of his life when the Ears seized property from his Atlanta home over unpaid taxes. Reports said the items included awards, equipment, his grand piano, and personal belongings. Now pause there. Imagine being Peabo Bryson. Imagine having sung songs that became part of world culture. Imagine having won Grammys. Imagine having your voice played at weddings, in films, in homes, in cars, across generations. And then imagine watching symbols of that success being taken and auctioned. For many artists, that kind of public embarrassment can destroy the spirit. Because when fame turns against you, it is not private. People do not just know you won, they also know when you fall. And celebrity culture can be cruel. It loves the rise, but it often enjoys the fall even more. Yet Peabo did not disappear into bitterness. He kept moving. He kept performing. He kept singing. And that tells you something important. Peabo Bryson's identity was not only in the trophies, it was in the gift. Trophies can be taken. A piano can be taken. Possessions can be taken. But the voice, the soul, the ability to stand in front of people and make them feel, that stayed with him. And that may be the most powerful part of his story. Because Peabo Bryson proved that dignity is not what you have when everything is perfect. Dignity is what remains when life strips away the decoration. A lot of younger listeners may think Peabo Bryson's story ended with Disney. But it did not. He kept recording. He kept touring. He kept showing up for fans. And in 2018, he released Stand for Love, his first studio album in years. That album mattered, not just because it was new music, but because it showed that Peabo still had something to say. At an age when many artists are placed in the legacy category and treated like museum pieces, Peabo came back with a voice that still carried emotion, discipline, and grace. And this is another lesson from his life. Real artists do not retire from feeling. They may slow down, they may change, their voice may age, their sound may evolve, but the emotional truth does not leave. Peabo still knew how to deliver a song, still knew how to build a phrase, still knew how to let silence do part of the work. That is something many modern singers could learn from him. Because singing is not only about what you can do, it is about what you choose not to do. Peabo did not overcrowd every moment. He let the listener breathe. He trusted the song. And that is why his music aged beautifully. In 2019, Peabo Bryson suffered a heart attack at his home in Georgia. For fans, it was frightening news. This was a voice that had felt immortal to many people. But suddenly, everyone was reminded that behind the legend was a man, a husband, a father, a human being with a body that could break. He recovered, and fans were grateful. And after that, he continued to appear, perform, and remain connected to the music world. But in 2026, tragedy came again. Peabo suffered a stroke, and shortly after, he passed away at the age of 75. The news hit hard because it felt sudden, even though he had lived a full and remarkable life. When an artist like Peabo Bryson dies, people do not only mourn the person, they mourn the memories attached to the person. They remember the first dance, the old cassette, the radio playing in the kitchen, the Disney movie on V8s, the parent who used to play his songs, the person they loved when that song was new. That is why his passing felt personal to so many people who never met him, because Peabo's voice had already met them. So why does Peabo Bryson matter? Not just as a singer, not just as a Grammy winner, not just as a Disney voice. Why does he matter culturally? He matters because he represented a style of Black romantic music that was elegant, emotional, and deeply musical. He came from the tradition of soul singers who understood that love songs were not simple. Love songs carried history, they carried vulnerability. They carried masculinity without hardness. They carried tenderness without weakness. Peabo's voice challenged the idea that strength has to be loud. He showed that a man could sing gently and still sound powerful. He showed that romance could be mature. He showed that emotional honesty could be classy. And his success with Disney also matters, because for millions of people around the world, Peabo Bryson became one of the voices that carried Black vocal excellence into mainstream family entertainment. His voice was not hidden. It was central. It was the emotional engine of two of Disney's most beloved songs. That is a legacy beyond charts. That is cultural memory. Every time Beauty and the Beast is remembered, Peabo is there. Every time A Whole New World is played, Peabo is there. Every time someone searches Peabo Bryson songs, they are not just looking for music, they are looking for a feeling. And that feeling is still alive. Let us talk about the voice itself. What made Peabo Bryson's voice so special? It was not just range. A lot of singers have range. It was not just power. A lot of singers have power. It was control, warmth, timing, restraint, and emotional precision. Peabo's voice had a polished surface, but underneath it was church, soul, pain, discipline, and experience. He could enter a note softly and let it bloom. He could hold a phrase without making it feel forced. He could make a romantic lyric sound like a promise instead of a performance. And he understood dynamics. He knew when to rise. He knew when to pull back. He knew when to let the duet partner shine. That is why so many of his collaborations worked. He was not just singing at people, he was singing with them. And when he sang alone, it still felt like a conversation. That is why listeners trusted him. Peabo Bryson sounded like someone who meant what he sang. In a world full of manufactured emotion, that is priceless. Another thing that stands out about Peabo Bryson is how he carried himself. He was polished, smooth, professional, but there was also humility in him. He did not build his career on shock. He was not constantly chasing headlines. He allowed the music to be the headline. That may be one reason some people underestimate him, because our culture often rewards noise. Peabo was not noise. He was quality. And quality does not always scream. Sometimes it lasts quietly for decades until you realize it has been part of your life the whole time. That is Peabo Bryson. He was there when couples got married. He was there when families watched Disney films. He was there on quiet nights when people needed a song to say what they could not say. He was there in moments of celebration. And he was there in moments of grief. That is not just fame. That is presence. There is a painful irony in Peabo Bryson's life. He became famous for songs that made everything feel magical. But his own life was not a fairy tale. There were struggles. There were financial problems. There were health scares. There were moments when the spotlight was not kind. And yet, he kept giving people beauty. That is what makes his story so moving. Sometimes, the people who give the most comfort are carrying pain we do not see. The singer who helps people believe in love may be fighting his own battles. The voice that sounds effortless may come from a life that was anything but easy. And that is why we should be careful with legends. We should not wait until they are gone to understand what they gave us. Peabo Bryson gave the world more than songs. He gave emotional shelter. And when he died, many people realized they had been living inside that shelter for years. Peabo Bryson's legacy is not difficult to find. It is in the awards. It is in the albums. It is in the Disney soundtracks. It is in the duets. It is in the live performances. It is in the singers who studied him. It is in the fans who still type his name into YouTube just to hear that voice again. But his deeper legacy is this: he made love sound dignified. That may be his greatest gift. In music, love can sometimes be presented as drama, obsession, desire, heartbreak, or fantasy. Peabo gave love elegance. He gave it patience. He gave it emotional maturity. He made it feel like something sacred. And that is why his music still connects. Because people never stop needing that. People never stop needing songs that remind them love can be gentle. People never stop needing voices that make the world feel less harsh. And Peabo Bryson was one of those voices. If you are younger and you only know Peabo Bryson because of Disney, go deeper. Listen to Feel the Fire. Listen to I'm So Into You. Listen to If Ever You're in My Arms Again. Listen to Can You Stop the Rain. Listen to his duets with Roberta Flack. Listen to the way he phrases words. Listen to how he controls emotion without overdoing it. You will hear a different era of singing. An era when vocal skill was not optional. An era when singers had to be able to stand on stage and deliver. No hiding, no shortcuts, just voice and soul. And if you create music today, study Peabo not just for his notes, but for his discipline. He understood that emotion becomes more powerful when it is controlled. He understood that romance becomes more believable when it is not rushed. He understood that a great duet is not about ego, it is about chemistry. That is why he remains important. Picture Peabo Bryson on stage. The lights are low, the band is waiting. The audience is quiet. He steps to the microphone. He does not need to run around. He does not need explosions. He does not need a viral gimmick. He just opens his mouth. And suddenly, the room changes. That was the gift. Some artists entertain you. Peabo Bryson changed the temperature of a room. He made people lean in. He made memories return. He made love feel possible. And now that he is gone, the world feels a little less smooth, a little less romantic, a little less gentle. But the truth is, Peabo Bryson is not really gone. Not fully. Because voices like his do not disappear. They echo. They live in songs. They live in wedding videos. They live in old playlists. They live in Disney memories. They live in the hearts of people who hear one note and suddenly remember someone they loved. That is immortality in music. Not living forever in body. Living forever in feeling. And maybe that is why Peabo Bryson's story matters right now. Because in a loud world, he reminds us of softness. In a fast world, he reminds us of patience. In a cynical world, he reminds us that romance does not have to be embarrassing. It can be beautiful, it can be serious, it can be strong. So here's my question for you. What is the first Peabo Bryson song you remember hearing? Was it Beauty and the Beast? Was it A Whole New World? Was it Tonight, I Celebrate My Love? Was it If Ever You're in My Arms Again? Or was it another song that became part of your life? Write it in the comments, because sometimes one song can bring back an entire chapter of someone's life. And if this story made you remember Peabo Bryson differently, share it with someone who grew up with his music. Because legends stay alive when we keep telling their stories. Peabo Bryson was not just the voice behind two Disney classics. He was not just a duet partner. He was not just a Grammy winner. He was a bridge between soul, romance, pop, and memory. He came from Greenville and carried his voice across the world. He sang with some of the greatest artists of his time. He gave Disney two timeless moments. He faced public setbacks. He survived health scares. He kept performing. He kept singing. And when his final chapter came, he left behind something most artists can only dream of. A voice people will keep returning to. A voice tied to love. A voice tied to childhood. A voice tied to elegance. A voice tied to memories that never really fade. Peabo Bryson once helped the world believe in a whole new world. Now his own journey has ended. But the songs remain. The feeling remains. The love remains. And every time that unmistakable voice begins again, somewhere, someone will stop what they are doing. They will remember. They will smile. Maybe they will cry. And for a few minutes, Peabo Bryson will be right there again. Not as a headline, not as a memory fading away, but as what he always was, the voice of love.